Hi, beautiful people. How are you doing? My name is Ngozi. I'm a registered nurse with over 1 decade of clinical experience. And when I'm not in the ward, I'm actually maximizing one platform or the other, preaching the health gospel. Thank you so much, Boke, the purpose pointer, for having me today. And we're going to be talking about feminine hygiene and the importance of feminine hygiene and best practices for our young ladies out there. Thank you so much for joining today. If you're one of the participants, you are surely in for an amazing program. Trust me. I'm going to jump right in because of the time. And what I'm going to do is quickly split the things that I will talk about into 5 headings. So the first one is knowledge. The second one is triggers. Next is routines. Next is care and treatment. And lastly is sexual hygiene. So let's jump right into it. I hope you have your writing materials and everything that will make for you're getting all the points that we're going to be talking about today. By way of introduction, when we say feminine hygiene, what are we talking about? So we know the general meaning of hygiene, right? So when we say feminine hygiene, we're talking about womanhood. We're talking about as a woman, how do we take care of ourselves as women? All right, so that's what we're talking about. So we have mental hygiene, physical hygiene, food hygiene, and all of that. But when we say feminine hygiene, we're talking about hygiene in relation to our bodies as women. Like I said earlier, the first thing that I will talk about is knowledge. So you need to know first. So you need to know who you are, know everything about yourself, and then what should be normal. So that when something gets out of normal, you would actually quickly pick it up and start investigating, chasing, taking care of it. If it needs to be treated, treat it. So I'll give you an example. So as a lady, you should know things like your health statistics, like your weight, your height, your genotype, your blood group. Also things like vaccinations, your vaccination status, vaccinations for different kind of conditions. You should also be at the top of that as well. So when I talk about knowledge, I'm talking about know yourself. If you start observing changes in your body, you would be able to detect it. You know the kind of smell that should come out from your body. I know the kind of discharges that you should have at different times in your cycle. All right, so that's what I mean by knowledge. I'm not going to have the time to go into minute details, but when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to feminine hygiene, you need to first know what is normal so that whenever something goes out of normal, you will be able to detect it and you can chase it appropriately and deal with it as you should. So that is what I mean by knowledge. So let's go to the second point, which is triggers. So what I mean by triggers, triggers for your personal hygiene. For example, if you don't shower yourself regularly, you would know that that is a trigger for something. So you won't feel comfortable to start with. You will notice odor secondly. And then that's an invitation for infections and itchiness and different kind of rash and all of that. So you want to actually understand that this is actually a trigger that will distort your personal hygiene, that will distort your feminine hygiene. So triggers is all about knowing what would actually, for example, what kind of food do you eat that will actually distort your body, distort how you feel or how you smell even. All right. So eating healthy is actually very important and it contributes to our health. It contributes to feminine hygiene. Some people tell you if you eat this, if you eat that, you have a very nice smell from your vagina and all of those things, right? So as a person or as a lady, you should also understand there's some foods that you eat, you become so puffed up. It's like your body starts retaining fluid instead of bringing them out through your urine, sweat, and a lot of that. But if you eat those food, they hold on to the water in your body and then you feel very heavy. You feel it affects you overall. So the triggers, what are those external things? Or sometimes even mentally, psychologically as well. What are those things that are triggers that actually shifts you from being healthy as a lady to being unhealthy? So you need to mark your triggers because they're very important for your well-being, for you maintaining your overall health, including your well-being as a woman, your reproductive health as well. There's so many things that goes on within our body with hormones month in and month out, and there's so many things that comes into our bodies that affect those hormones. There's so many things that comes into our minds as well, our stress level and all of that. These are triggers that changes our body system. And before you know, there's one rash around here. You don't know what is causing it and all that. And then you meet a specialist, they tell you maybe it's stress, or your cycle just changes and maybe it's stress as well. Take note of the triggers and the things that distorts your well-being, so that you can do things that will ensure that you are balanced at each point in time, that you are healthy at each point in time. The next thing I'm going to talk about is routines. So as a lady, you need to keep the routines that keeps you healthy, the routines that keeps you hygienic, the routines that keeps you fresh. Eating healthy food, routine exercises. If you have a sedentary lifestyle, maybe by reason of your job, make sure that you're taking walks. Walks are very important. More than ever before, walks are being emphasized. People tell you they take 10,000 steps a day. They're trying to see and keep watch of how many steps they've taken and keep up with it. It helps you a great deal. It helps your gut health. It helps your muscles. It helps your mindset is refreshed and all of that. You feel light. You feel ready. Your regular bath, your regular checkups. If you have any particular reason to actually go do routine checkups, go ahead and do that as well. So keeping routines, like a lot of people have this mindset that, for example, when it comes to washing their vulva, that they have to use washing the vagina, for example, they have to use soaps or they have to use scented. There's so many feminine products out there to douche and all that. So there's no need to douche because the vagina is self-cleansing, but your vulva, you have to wash, right? When you take your bath, when you have a shower, you have to make sure that you wash and wash well. I remember when I was in primary school, that was when one of my female teachers, she was like, when you want to wash your vulva, you must bend down and wash properly. And it's actually important to wash properly because sweat hangs around there. And when the normal flora on our skin and the normal flora in the vagina, when that area changes because of sweat, when it's moist and all of those flora, they then start becoming infectious. That's why itchiness, you get itchy because there is a change in that environment. And also you want to use underwears that are cotton based because you don't want to be, if you use things like materials or fabrics like nylon, you become so sweaty and all of that. The normal flora on your skin, the normal flora in your vagina take advantage of the change in that environment, and then they become harmful instead of being a normal flora and do the normal thing it's supposed to do there. So you have to keep routines that keep you healthy. Eat healthy, do your exercises, make sure that you're not sedentary. If you have a sedentary lifestyle, walk about, go to the gym. These things are actually becoming a lot of people are opening up to these things because yes, they are beneficial. And make sure that you're doing the tests that you should do regularly. Go for them and do them as well. I'll go to the next point, and this is where I'll talk about care and treatment. So you now know and understand yourself, and you are now abiding by the routine, or you are now following a routine that helps you. So the next thing is, if you notice that there is something that needs care and attention, there's something that needs care and treatment, do not ignore them. Do not ignore those things. Get the needed care. Speak to someone that might have knowledge about it. One of the reasons why I like the internet right now is that a lot of people are talking about their personal experiences. The things that in the past would be like, don't talk about this thing in public, or the things that people will get stigmatized for. These days, a lot of people, we are now in the era of we listen and we don't judge. So a lot of people are coming out to talk about their personal experiences. You see people online that are HIV positive, they talk about it with all boldness and they educate people, they take us through their journeys, and we're able to see how it really is to live with HIV, or a lot of people that have different kind of conditions, PCOS, endometriosis. They take us through their journeys and we're able to see how it is. And people get to know about treatment methods even more. And most of these things, when it comes to our reproductive health or feminine health, most of these things are not talked about openly enough. So the advantage that we now have of the internet, where people are now vulnerable enough to talk about it, is the fact that we discover different things that people have tried and all of that to actually take care of themselves. We get to hear that, and most people relate because they're like, oh, so they're having these symptoms, so it means they might have this. and then it triggers them and to go for investigations, get investigated, and all of that. Find support groups. If you have arrived at a diagnosis and you think, oh, this is so overwhelming, you haven't seen anybody who has gone through this before, you cannot, a lot of people cannot relate. Being part of a community is very important. Being part of a spiritual community is also very important as well, because you rub minds together and iron will sharpen iron as well. The burden is taken off your shoulder, it is lighter. So I'm talking about care and treatment. So do not ignore symptoms. Dig into what is the cause and what is the treatment or management of different things that you discover about yourself and about your body as a lady. Lastly, I'm going to talk about sexual hygiene. So sexual hygiene, I'm going to use the model that we've used earlier to talk about this. So first of all, knowledge. You need to know your sexual status. What I mean is you need to know your blood group, your genotype, if you're sexually active, you need to know whether you have STDs. You need to know your blood works, basically. If you're sexually active, you want to know whether your partner is actually, if they know all of these things about themselves as well, and if you're comfortable to still have sexual relations with these persons. If you're married, of course, you want to know that of your partner even before marriage, so that you know what you're getting into. So this is what I mean by sexual hygiene. You want to know that this is my sexual status in terms of my blood works and all of that. And the person that I'm going to bed with, this is theirs. You are aware of it. They are aware of it. All right. You want to be sure, am I going to bed with this one person, and is this one person going to bed with me alone, or do they have other sexual partners that would expose you as well to sexually transmitted infections and every other thing that comes with having multiple sex partners. So this is what I mean by sexual hygiene, because when you have the knowledge of it, you'll be able to know when something goes wrong, and you'll be able to follow through with the needed management and care that has to be taken when it comes to that condition or whatever that is. So I really hope that this has given us an insight into what feminine hygiene is all about and the things that we need to know and do as women to make sure that we're keeping everything at equilibrium. Because of time, I wasn't able to really dig into specifics, so I would deal with specifics by reason of or through the questions that will be asked. So thank you so much for joining this session. I hope that you enjoy the rest of the program.